Something moved just beyond the edge of the headlights. Not fast, not slow. Wrong. The shape stood there, half shadow, half something else. Watching. Waiting. As if it had always been there. And yet, seconds ago, the road had been empty. The driver didn't breathe. Didn't blink. Because whatever stood in front of him was watching him back. And then it smiled. Not like a man. Not like an animal. But like something that had learned how to do it by observing. And in that moment, before the engine died, before the radio began whispering something that wasn't static, he realized something cold, something final. He had crossed into a place where the rules didn't exist anymore. And it knew he was there. Welcome to the VOSS Story Room, where every story pulls you a little deeper into the dark. If you find yourself drawn to stories like this, the kind that stay with you long after the screen goes black, consider subscribing. Not for us, but for the stories that haven't found you yet. Tonight, we go to a place that shouldn't exist, a place whispered about in government files, denied in public statements, and feared by those who've seen it with their own eyes. A place called Skinwalker Ranch, Utah. A stretch of land that, on the surface, looks ordinary. Dry soil. Open sky, rolling hills that seem to breathe under the sun. But step onto it, and something begins to feel off. Not immediately at first, it's subtle. The wind doesn't sound right. The silence feels heavy, like the land is holding something back, waiting. The stories began long before cameras, before scientists, before the world started paying attention. The Navajo people spoke of it in quiet voices, warning of skinwalkers, shapeshifters, entities that could become animals or people, or something in between. They weren't myths told to scare children. They were warnings. Stay away, don't look, and whatever you do, don't call it by name, because names have power, and on that land, something listens. Years later, a family moved in, the Shermans. They didn't come looking for mystery. They came for land, a fresh start, a quiet life. At first, everything seemed normal, peaceful even, until the cattle started disappearing, not wandering off, vanishing. Fences weren't broken. Gates weren't open. It was as if the animals had simply stopped existing. And then came the first sighting. A wolf, but not like any wolf they'd ever seen. It was too big, too calm. It approached them slowly, almost casually. One of the Shermans raised a rifle, fired, the bullet hit. The wolf didn't react. Another shot, nothing. It stood there, staring, as if amused. And then, without a sound, it turned and walked away, like it had never been in danger at all. That was the moment they realized. This wasn't normal. This wasn't natural. And it was just the beginning. Lights began appearing in the sky. Not planes. Not stars. Orbs. Floating, pulsing, watching. They moved with purpose, intelligence, curiosity, sometimes hovering just above the ground, sometimes darting across the horizon in impossible speeds, and sometimes coming closer, too close. One night, a glowing orb drifted into a field. The family watched as it hovered near a calf. There was a moment of stillness, and then the calf screamed. Not a normal cry, something sharper, something terrified. The orb vanished, and when they reached the animal, its body was mutilated, surgically, precise, bloodless, no tracks, no signs of struggle, just silence, heavy, oppressive, watching. The Shermans didn't sleep much after that. Because something had changed. They could feel it, like the land had noticed them, acknowledged them, and decided they were part of it now. Footsteps began echoing outside at night, slow, deliberate, circling the house. But every time they looked, nothing. No one, just the feeling of being watched, constantly, closely. like eyes were pressed against the walls, listening, waiting. Then came the voices. At first, faint, barely there, like whispers carried by the wind. But there was no wind. The voices came from nowhere, or everywhere, sometimes calling their names, sometimes repeating things they had said earlier that day. Perfectly, as if something had been listening, memorizing, and now was playing it back. Not to communicate, but to show them they weren't alone, and they never had been. One night, one of the sons woke up. He heard breathing, not his, something deeper, slower, standing just outside his bedroom door. He froze. The handle turned, slowly, carefully, as if whatever was on the other side understood exactly what it was doing. The door creaked open, darkness spilled in, and in that darkness, something moved, low to the ground, not quite walking, not quite crawling, watching him. He shut his eyes, held his breath, and waited. Minutes passed, maybe hours. When he finally opened them, the room was empty, but the smell remained, rotting, earthy, wrong. The family left soon after. They didn't sell the ranch because they wanted to. They sold it because they had to, because staying meant something worse, something they couldn't explain or survive. But the story didn't end there, because someone else bought the land. Not a family, not a farmer, a man with questions and the resources to find answers. Scientists arrived, equipment, cameras, sensors, everything designed to observe, to measure, to understand. And at first, nothing happened. Days passed, weeks, silence, stillness. The ranch appeared empty, lifeless, almost normal. And then, it started again. Only this time, it felt different. Like whatever was there knew it was being watched and didn't like it. Equipment began failing, not randomly, strategically. Cameras pointed at certain areas would shut off. Sensors would spike, then flatline. Batteries drained instantly. As if something was feeding on the energy, one researcher reported something impossible. A portal. A tear in the air. Faint. Shimmering. Like heat rising from asphalt, but colder. He watched as something stepped through it, not fully visible. Just a shape. Distorted. Unfinished. And then it was gone. The portal collapsed, like it had never existed. But the feeling remained, that something had crossed over and was still there, just out of sight. The team began documenting everything. Orbs, creatures, voices, time distortions. Moments where seconds stretched into minutes, where people would lose time and have no memory of what happened. One man swore he saw himself, standing across the field, watching, mimicking, perfectly. He waved. The other version waved back, half a second too late. Just enough to feel wrong, just enough to know it wasn't him. And then, it smiled, the same unnatural smile, the same one seen years before, the one that didn't belong to anything human. Fear spread through the team, not panic, something deeper, primal, instinctive. The kind of fear that doesn't come from what you see, but from what you feel, like your mind is trying to warn you before you understand why. Some left, quietly, without explanation. Others stayed, driven by curiosity or obsession, because the ranch had a way of pulling people in, of making them feel like they were close, so close, to understanding something bigger, something hidden, something not meant for us. And then came the incident, the one they don't talk about openly, the one buried in reports, redacted, fragmented, a night like any other. Clear sky, no wind. The team was monitoring activity, and then everything lit up. Sensors spiked, radiation levels surged, The air itself felt charged, like a storm without clouds, without sound. The ground began to hum, low, vibrating. They saw it, above the ranch, a massive shape, not solid, not fully there, but present, watching, observing, like they had been doing all along. Only now, it wasn't hiding. One of the researchers stepped forward, drawn to it, compelled. He later said it felt like being called, like something inside his mind wasn't his anymore. He walked into the field, closer, closer. The others shouted, tried to stop him, but he didn't respond. He reached out, and for a moment, everything went silent. No hum, no wind, no breath, just stillness. Perfect, terrifying stillness. And then he disappeared, not ran, not fell, gone, like he had been erased. The shape above flickered and vanished, just like that. The silence broke. The team rushed forward, searching, calling his name. Nothing. No trace. No sign he had ever been there. Except for one thing. His voice. Over the radio? Calm. Clear. Unnatural. Saying only one sentence. We see you too. The transmission cut. Static. End. They never found him. Not a body. Not a clue. Just that message. And the feeling that he wasn't gone. Not really. That he had crossed into something else. Something that had been watching all along. The investigation was shut down. Officially, nothing conclusive was found. No evidence. No proof. Just stories, accounts, fragments. But the ranch remains. Still there. Still quiet. Still watching. And sometimes, late at night, people driving past say they see something, standing just beyond the headlights. Not moving, not hiding, just waiting. And if you look too long, if you let your eyes adjust, you might notice something subtle, something small, something that sends a chill straight through you. It's not the shape, not the size, not even the way it stands. It's the expression. Because whatever it is, it's smiling. And not like it's happy, like it knows something you don't, something you're not supposed to, something about that land, about what lives there, about what watches from the other side. And the worst part? Some people say when they leave, they don't leave alone. Because Skinwalker Ranch doesn't just show you something. It marks you, follows you, studies you, like you studied it. And once you've been seen, you don't stop being seen. You just stop noticing. Until one day, you do. You've been listening to the VOSS Story Room. If this story stayed with you, if it followed you into the quiet, consider subscribing and sharing it with someone who isn't afraid of the dark. Because some stories aren't meant to comfort you. Some are meant to remind you you're not alone.